Hello and welcome to the Adrian Bar Project. I'm Adrian with a face for radio, and on today's episode I'm going to be reviewing Martin Popoff's book Smokin Valves, and I'm going to be having a right royal heavy metal rant. So, cue the music. For those millennials of you out there that don't know what NWOBHM, or the New Wave of British Heavy Metal, is, it was a musical movement starting around 1979 that featured a lot of unsigned heavy metal bands. The bands including the Tigers of Pantang, Angel Witch, Samson, and of course the mighty Iron Maiden. It was a phrase that was first thought up by Jeff Barton as a one-off throwaway, knowing of the whole collection of bands around at the time, but it just seemed to stick, and so the whole movement gained a name. So, with no further ado, let's have a look at Martin Popoff's Smokin Valves. The book itself is made up from excerpts from Martin's other books. I'll read you what I mean on the back. It says the lion's share of the material in Smokin Valves combines rewritten and expanded text from Martin's long out-of-print New Wave of British Heavy Metal singles, plus the relevant reviews of full-length albums from his Collector's Guide series, specifically 70s and 80s book. So it's all in one handy little tome. The book contains all the bands you can remember being around at the time, as well as a few that you've probably never heard of. And what Martin's done is taken each band in turn and put their releases both on singles, 7-inch and 12-inch, and albums in chronological order and the time of their release. And he's also given his marks out of 10 for each release. He hasn't actually put any values for any of the records in, as prices fluctuate all the time, so I can understand him omitting that in this book. Reading through the book, I am surprised that there are a couple of bands here that haven't been mentioned, one of those being Judas Priest. Okay, they were formed well before the movement started, but they've always been ambassadors for heavy metal. You think of heavy metal in the 1980s and you think of the Judas Priest British Steel album. And so I say there's a bit of a glaring omission in this book, and yet he put in Motorhead, my favourite band, who I don't mind being in the book, but they were formed not much later than Judas Priest and have always tried to distance themselves away from the term heavy metal. They always said we weren't a heavy metal band, we were a rock and roll band that had more to do with punks, and yet all their albums in here, suppose you can't have all the bands in, or you should have a book the size of a fridge. That's a bit of a sticky point for me in this book. Reading some of the reviews themselves, they can be a little confusing for me actually. You'll be reading the write-up for the single and you'll be extolling the virtues of the guitar and the vocal and how great it is, and you get to the end of the review and it'll give the single a 5, and then you can be reading another review and it sounds like he's giving it a right pasting. You know, he don't like the recording or the songwriting up to par, and then he gives the whole album an 8. I found that throughout the book. Now, whether that's because it's from earlier reviews that he did, and he's changed his mind over the years, or what, I don't know. But that's one of the negatives I'd put against the book, that sometimes the write-ups don't seem to tally with the points that he gives out of 10 at the end. Really, that's the only minus point I've got about this book. It could be how I was reading it, I don't know, but you could make your own mind up on that point. This book, I think, would be aimed at collectors, definitely. If you want to be starting collecting NWOBHM vinyl releases, singles, you need this book. So you know what's missing in your collection. Things like, say, there's bands in here and records in here that even I'd never heard of. And I think it's an ideal starting point if you want to be a serious collector of the new wave of British heavy metal era and their bands. So, Martin Popoff's Smokin Valves. I would definitely give this book 4 Evil Ednas. Two other companion books that I can recommend to go along with Smokin Valves are The New Wave of British Heavy Metal Encyclopedia by Malcolm Macmillan, and also Susie Smiled, The New Wave of British Heavy Metal by John Tucker. Hopefully I'll be doing reviews on these 2 books at a later date. Time for a bit of a rant now. I don't know if you've noticed on television, especially a lot of makeup and perfume adverts and those totally horrible Unreal Housewives programmes, that there's a term being used called rocking the look. Now, this really gets my back up. If you want to see what rocking the look really looks like, then look at these ladies. And I'm going to tell you why these are the real deal. They all love metal. They all love rock. They eat it, they sleep it, they breathe it. They are rock chicks, the proper thing. The ones that you see on the telly, all pretending, don't. And here's the biggest giveaway. We've all seen her, the girl walking round with a Metallica t-shirt on, and they sit in the pub, and Creeping Death comes on the jukebox, and then all of a sudden they pipe up with this. Turn this shit off! Who's put this crap on? And that just gets my goat. Don't believe me? Let me add a story. One time he was walking down the road, saw a girl coming towards him wearing a Motörhead t-shirt. He approached her and he went, "Cool t-shirt, what's your favourite song?" And this stupid girl turned around and went, "Don't be stupid, it's not a band, it's a fashion brand." That is what we're up against. Moronic comments like that. And we're supposed to be the ones that's thick, you know? And this is why I get wild up about it. I mean, let's have a look at the so-called rock fans. These are just fashion sheep, nothing more than a photo op and a soundbite. David Beckham in an Exodus t-shirt. I bet he's never even heard of them. Do you really think him and Posh Spice mosh about to Blood In, Blood Out? I don't think so. And that's my point. People who don't like metal and don't like rock and don't like heavy metal rockers either, wearing metal t-shirts just because Kim Kardashian wore one once in a photo. I mean, you would not get a Manchester United fan walking around in a Liverpool top. They are the biggest rivals. They hate each other. So, if you don't like the bands, don't wear the t-shirt. I wouldn't wear a Justin Bieber t-shirt, even if it was the best designed t-shirt I'd ever seen in my entire life. I wouldn't wear it because I can't stand the little turd. No, he's awful. He's talentless. And that's my whole point. Or this whole rocking the look. Why do you keep saying you're rocking the look when you don't like rock? So, if you don't like the band, in my book, you don't wear the t-shirt. Thank you very much. So that's the end of yet another video. Sorry about that little rant if it pissed you off a little, but it's something I've always wanted to get off my chest for a very long time. But for the most part, I hope you enjoyed it, and here's to seeing you again on the next episode of the Adrian Bauer Project.